local MPs face questions about re-election. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thunder Bay's two Liberal MPs are considering whether they'll run again in the next federal election. The Trudeau Liberals are struggling in the polls, so we asked Patty Hajdu and Marcus Pawlowski about their political intentions for the next vote expected in 2025. Joel Medelson joins us now in studio with more. Joel?
Thank you, Riley. The Conservative MP in Kenora, Eric Melillo, confirmed last month that he'll be seeking a third term in the House of Commons. However, there's still no word on any Conservative candidates here. Pierre Poilievre says he'll let local riding members decide who takes on Hajdu and Pawlowski. Patty Hajdu has been the MP for Thunder Bay Superior North since 2015 and currently holds the title of Minister of Indigenous Services. In 2021, she won her riding by a margin of more than 5,000 votes. Hajdu says she is more focused on the remainder of her current term rather than the next one.
I sort of stay focused on the day we're in. I think it's really important that I continue to do my job as the elected member of Parliament, and it's a huge honor, by the way, to represent Thunder Bay Superior North and all the First Nations in the riding, as well as being the Minister of Indigenous Services. In my day-to-day work, meeting with constituents, helping people with their different challenges as they arise, and really just, I think, essentially having a good time doing this job.
And while Hajdu hasn't announced whether she'll seek re-election, her Liberal colleague in Thunder Bay Rainy River has decided to run again. Marcus Pawlowski was first elected in 2019 and then won his riding again in 2021 by slightly less than 2,000 votes. Pawlowski believes he is a better candidate now than when he entered politics.
To develop the kind of the complexity of understanding of the problems that face our community takes time, and I think after 5 years, I think I'm a lot better MP, and I really enjoy the work.
On the other side of the floor, the federal Conservatives have not yet chosen candidates in the two Thunder Bay area ridings. Party leader Pierre Poilievre says they won't bring in any outside nominees.
We're going to let the people of Thunder Bay, Rainy River choose their Conservative candidate, someone who knows how to balance a budget and appreciates the value of a dollar, someone who will respect hunters and sports shooters, and who will stand up for remote and rural communities in Ottawa rather than the other way around.
The latest polls show that if an election were held today, Poilievre would likely form a majority government. Joel Mendelson, TBT News.
A proposed solar farm deal in Terrace Bay could spell the end of the popular drag racing festival in that community. Town Council is in talks with EDF Renewables that's eyeing the former airport site. Mayor Paul Malashewski says they're leaning towards making a deal, which would provide a big financial boost to the community annually.
So that would be $200,000 towards the town finances, which is a good benefit to the town. The other thing why they picked that area there, it's close to the transmission lines run right by there too. So yeah, it's probably the best spot around.
EDF official made a presentation at a town council meeting earlier this year. If the deal does go through, it would mean the end of the Terrace Bay Drag Fest at the airport, which celebrated its 25th anniversary this past weekend. Malashewski says Drag Fest has done so much for Terrace Bay, but that the solar farm offers too many benefits.
The last 25 years, it has definitely benefited our community. It helped put Terrace Bay on the map. Benefits the town in economic way. It's business, I guess. I mean, it's too bad that the drags might have to find another home, but I mean, it's the job of council to look after the needs of our taxpayers in the town.
The mayor says even if the deal goes through, he expects at least a couple more drag fests can be held at the former airport. Police in the Nipigon area laid stunt driving charges against two BC drivers over the long weekend. On Friday morning, OPP clocked a vehicle on Highway 1117 traveling at 144 kilometers an hour in a 90K zone. A 27-year-old man from Surrey, BC was charged. Then on Sunday morning, police stopped another vehicle they say reached speeds of 157 kilometers an hour. A 31-year-old man, also from Surrey, was arrested and charged. Both accused received a 30-day license suspension and a 14-day vehicle impoundment. The 9 chiefs of the Matawa First Nation have wrapped up an important gathering where topics like health and education were front and center. Matawa's annual general meeting was held in Escandica and was also attended by Kiiwetinoong MPP Sol Mamakwa and the new Ontario Regional Chief, Abraham Benedict. Justin Hardy has the story.
Matawa First Nations held its AGM with representatives of each of the 9 First Nations that make up Matawa. The chiefs were provided with updates on the year previous, including comprehensive reports by management on various services provided through Matawa like education and health. Chief Sherry Taylor of Ganugaming says the meeting is a great opportunity to sit down and meet with her fellow chiefs. She adds that coming together helps each community ensure that their voices are not only being heard, but also listened to so that there's action.
We don't get together that often as 9 chiefs because we're so busy. So, the message to them is that, we need to be part of that conversation. And, having that opportunity to meet through a tribal council does help. And I'm hoping that, the message that was given there will be honored and acknowledged as it should be.
The assembled chiefs were addressed on the second day by Kiiwetinoong MPP Sol Mamakwa as well as newly elected Ontario Regional Chief Abraham Benedict. Taylor gave a message to Benedict that the communities in the north need to be a part of all discussions surrounding northern resources.
Anything out there that has to do with the resource extraction out there in our neck of the woods, in our backyards, our homelands, that we need to be part of that discussion. And I'd like to see a plan on how we can keep, us as our Northern First Nations, so that we're involved, because a lot of discussions take place without us, and that's unacceptable, and I will not allow that to happen anymore.
Benedict says he will strive to provide transparency in his new office and that he recognizes that there are concerns about the Chiefs of Ontario's ability to represent all of the communities in this region.
And so I will make it very clear to the political office and the Chiefs of Ontario organization that we represent every First Nation and that we support the North. And we want the North to ensure that they are being served, they are being supported, we are advocating for them. And it'll take some time though. It is, as you know, a relatively large organization.
The next Matawa annual general meeting is scheduled for July 2025 in Arrowland First Nation. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
Forest fire activity in the Northwest region has increased to more typical levels following the hot, dry weather over the past few weeks. It's a noticeable change from the spring and early summer when wet weather kept the numbers of wildfires very low. As of this afternoon, there were 37 active wildfires in this region. 7 are not yet under control, 2 are being held, and 4 are considered under control. The vast majority, 24 fires, are simply being observed, meaning they don't pose any immediate threat to communities or infrastructure, and are being monitored while they're left to run their course.
So there are some species of tree, for example, that do require the heat from a forest fire in order to open up the seeds so that way they can germinate and then properly grow. So the jack pine is an example of that kind of tree. Sometimes wildfire is also good for clearing invasive plants or species out from an area, allowing the other trees and plants to grow.
Although more fires have been burning in the Northwest, the MNR has still been able to provide assistance to other regions facing much more severe fire conditions. A 26-person incident management team was deployed to Alberta just yesterday, and a total of 298 personnel are now assisting the western provinces. Forest fires across the nation have been worsening over the past few years, leading to a number of community evacuations. Thunder Bay fire officials say while the local risk is low, they have the plan and equipment in place for the worst-case scenario. Vasilos Bellos reports.
Since the devastation of Fort McMurray in 2016 from wildfires, and most recently the town of Jasper, cities located near forested areas across the nation have been preparing for the worst. That includes here in Thunder Bay, especially with the past few seasons in the region seeing some of the most severe and largest fires ever.
It's about early notification and then a response to that.
Thunder Bay Fire Chief Dave Paxton says while the threat of evacuation in the city is low, they're prepared to do so if a large fire poses a threat. Paxton says communication between various organizations would be crucial early on.
MNRF base out of Thunder Bay, so we have communications when red flag days would be approaching. So those are, high burning conditions, resources that are stretched, and as the threat would increase. However, with forest fires, it can start the side of the road, it can start from a train.
There is some unique equipment that can be deployed by Thunder Bay Fire Rescue when fighting forest fires. That includes this portable pump, which can access water from smaller bodies like ponds or rivers, using this hose, which can extend well over 400 feet.
Some of our equipment for our crews to be able to maneuver better as opposed to our structural firefighting gear. We've got overalls and stuff like that, and then hand tools that we deploy. And then our good working relationship with the local M&R and the crews. We've trained together, we've refreshed our forest fire training techniques over the last number of years as well.
Paxton goes on to say it's a huge benefit that Thunder Bay is on Lake Superior, as it makes for easy access for water bombers fighting forest fires. Visioyos Balos, TBT News.
Nearly 2 months after it went off the rails the first day of the 2024 season, the Muskeg Express is still out of commission. City officials are remaining hopeful families can ride it before the end of the season, but they can't make any promises. This summer, of course, wasn't the first time there's been issues with the ride, with the Muskeg Express derailing consistently over the past few years. The city is currently conducting test runs at Centennial Park and trying to determine when families can safely ride it again. Parks and Open Spaces Manager Corey Halverson says the city is doing what it can to get the Muskeg Express up and running again, while also looking to the future.
I really can't commit to it at this point. Beyond that, again, into the fall, we haven't typically ran into the fall, but if we get to the point where we're up and running and everything's resolved, we'll evaluate our options at that time. But our main goal is to use this season to ensure that beginning of next season is highly confident.
Halverson says there's no current discussions to retire the ride. Well, Haley, turning to weather, I feel hot weather Haley is back in action, especially with the weather we saw today.
Absolutely. This is what I would call my Goldilocks of days because it wasn't too hot, wasn't too cool. It's what I would consider just right. Now, of course, that is a matter of opinion, but I'd say that this is pretty darn dandy, as 26 was our high today. And the great thing is that the humidex didn't play too much of a factor. We've seen those really, really hot days where the humidex just gives it that extra push that makes it feel kind of icky. Not today, though, because the humidex only made it feel 1 degree cooler, or warmer, pardon me, at 27. Now, it was cooler in the morning at a low of 8 degrees. That was at 7 a.m., but a nice little morning cool air. Keep it crisp, keep it fresh. It was also sunnier in the morning, so we saw that nice bright sunshine to wake us up, and then a little partly cloudy in the afternoon. So really nothing to complain about. Even the breeze stayed light to moderate for most of the day, shifting from west to east. But for the most part, absolutely beautiful day, and around 2 degrees warmer than our average for this time of year. So quite lovely. And we were actually one of the warmer areas in the region. If we take a look right now, we see a lot of consistency around the 23-degree mark. And that's the high of the day for most places. So areas like Pickle Lake and Red Lake, they saw some pretty heavy cloud coverage throughout the day, mostly cloudy there. Kenora and Sioux Lookout, similar. Kenora a little bit cooler as they've seen some southern winds that became a little gusty at times. Fort Frances, though, and areas to the south that are similar, like Atikokan, 24 right now, so a little bit warmer and a little less cloudy as well. A very nice, calm day for Atikokan. Less breeze affecting them there. Now over a little more to the east, a little bit cooler as well, playing a little bit of catch up, but they are getting some nice sun. A little bit of mix of sun and cloud today, but sunny now in areas like Armstrong and Greenstone, 22 there and in Marathon. Wawa saw a mix of sun and cloud, they're a little cooler, 21, but luckily it is becoming a little sunnier, especially in areas like Sault Ste. Marie. They're at 22 right now. Now for tonight in Thunder Bay, we're sticking with the nice and comfortable, as we'll have a clear evening with a low of 12. Southeast winds being almost non-existent, just wavering between the 5 and 10 kilometers an hour mark. But I have to say, this fairy tale story does not end here, Riley, as things will get a little more interesting as the week goes on, but that's the great thing about weather, it always gives you something to talk about.
Absolutely, and you know, I like that mystery. Now I'm curious what's going to bring.
Oh, stick around.
Thank you so much, Haley. Well, when we come back, we'll focus on national news, where weeks of speculation have ended as VP Harris has selected her running mate in Tim Walz. We'll have more on that as your Tuesday News Hour continues.